I'm Shelby Schaefer. I'm from Girlstart, and I appreciate you all wanting to join and listen to our experience of kind of how we handled the virtual experience over this summer and how we plan to transition that in the fall.
So first of all, Shelby, thank you so much for being here today. So Shelby builds and maintains Girlstart Afterschool Partnership across Central Texas. She received her Bachelor's of Science in Human Development and Family Science from the University of Texas at Austin and began her career with Girlstart as a practicum intern in her final undergraduate semester. After graduating, Shelby pursued her passion for education as a fourth grade math, writing, and science teacher, and spent her summers educating girls in STEM as part of the Girlstart travel team, leading summer camps throughout the Texas and nationwide. And with that, I will let you take it away, Shelby.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, the kind of plan of what we're going to go through. First, I'm going to introduce about Girlstart, how we adapted this summer, policies and kind of resources that we use that we really favored during summer camp at home, strategies that we plan to continue on in the fall, and then leave some time for any questions that everyone might have. For those of you that don't know, Girlstart is a nonprofit. We're dedicated to empower girls in STEM. We have after-school programs, summer camps, community events, and they're all designed to engage girls in hands-on STEM. Our mission is to decrease the gender gap in STEM fields by demonstrating to girls that STEM is creative, fun, and engaging. We do a lot of problem solving, a lot of hands-on STEM, and just different ways for girls to interact with science, technology, engineering, and math. Like I said, we were really trying to decrease that gender gap. Less than 25% of STEM professionals in the United States are women, and we really just want to help even out that number for sure. All of our lessons and activities are connected to a career so that girls can be really inspired by what they're learning and envision a career that they could pursue if they wanted to do that. So like I said, we have after-school clubs, summer camps, and community events, all typically which are in person. Last year in 2019, we had trained staff that traveled all across the nation and hosted 35 different summer camps in person, serving over 900 girls across the country. It became very clear as we were planning those camps that because of COVID, that we were not going to be able to meet in person. We wanted to continue to serve all of our campers, however, so we realized that we were going to have to adapt into a virtual model. As you can see here, every girl received a kit. We did kit pickup, so in our kits were all of the materials that girls would need to be able to do every activity, including general materials such as scissors and tapes. Anything that a girl might need, we tried to include that in her kit so that she had everything at her hands to do our lessons. They either picked up the kits at our location or we mailed them directly to the girls. And this is kind of our pictures of our pickups and the safe ways that we did that, as well as everything that was included in the kit. For our summer camps, we were lucky enough to also be able to include a piece of technology with this Ozobot for girls to be able to do at home. Our summer camp at home program, we wanted to make sure that it was accessible to everyone. We understand that not everybody has the privilege to be able to join Zoom calls. So every kit included a comprehensive engineering journal. This was very detailed for how to do every single activity, as well as prompts for girls to think creatively about the activity and problem solve along the way. They were able to answer questions and fill into their journal. So that was a way with no technology, girls could be able to go through our whole program on their own. If they did have access to technology to watch something, but they weren't able to join a scheduled Zoom call, we also had a digital library available. We had staff that recorded, they were leading the lessons as if they were leading them to the girls during a Zoom call. This way girls could watch it and they could feel like they're engaged. They can pause it, they can go back when they needed to. They had something to follow along in addition to that comprehensive engineering journal. The next thing that we did have scheduled Zoom calls, and this is what we mostly encouraged the girls to do if they were able to. In our Zoom calls, not only did we go through how to do all of the activity, there was also a lot of bonding time through get to know you games, and it really still built that sense of community that you often have during summer camp. So we were really proud to still have the girls really excited to see each other and have that similar sense of community. So some of the policies that we put into place as we started the Zoom calls, this is where a lot of concerns had been coming up towards the end of the spring semester about Zoom calls and what that looked like on campus. And so we also had those similar concerns, and we wanted to make sure we set some policies on our end as well as on the campers' end to help make sure it ran as smoothly as possible. So some policies that we made sure we had was our camps are 1 week long camps, so a Monday through Friday. We did not provide the link to the camp until the Thursday before. So they had only a short window that they had access to that link. All of our calls had a password to them, and they all had a waiting room. And our staff that led the calls were given the names of the girls as well as their parents, so that when a name popped up in the waiting room, they could look at that list and anticipate, is this someone that should be joining our call or is it not? We were able to be safe that way. We also had 4 staff per Zoom call. We did breakout rooms where it'd be 2 staff for about half of the girls, so it'd break out into 2 rooms. We made sure always to have at least 2 adults in a call in a room for every call. And then we gave campers some guidelines ahead of time. So the camper guidelines that we gave them ahead was making sure, of course, they don't share the Zoom link. We wanted to make sure that they were respectful to other people in their household, so they were in a space where the other people in their household might not be behind them. We did also provide, and I think I go into this a little bit later, but we also provided backgrounds in case they didn't want their background showing at all. If they didn't want their home showing, we provided Girlstart backgrounds that they could use if they wanted. Making sure that they were really mindful while the camera was on them, and just kind of being aware of what their surroundings were, what they were doing, and making sure that that was appropriate. Because we are very strict with media release, we did not allow them to take personal screenshots or recordings. This is something that we asked them. And they only communicated with Girlstart team members via Zoom or Padlet, and not through any other social media platforms. I'm going to go into Padlet just a little bit more in a moment. This one. Our camp day. So our camps were pretty structured. We start off a day with something called Girlstart Your Morning. This was where girls would plan out what their day looked like. They challenged themselves to build a new social and emotional skill. It was really a way to start the day with intention and to know, I want to work on courage today, or I am going to work on mindfulness. We had a goal that we worked on to grow, and we talked about that a little bit. Then we would go into the STEM activity. These were hands-on activity. They had step-by-step instructions, like I said, in their journal, but also the staff walked them through those instructions. They often had probing questions and were able to talk through their design ideas in the Zoom calls, which was really exciting to hear them brainstorm with each other. We wrapped up the morning with a moment of recognition. So this is where they really recognized the hard work that they did through the day and recognized how they met that intention that they did, and really reflect on the day that they had and the ways that they challenged themselves, which was exciting. That was our morning of camp. Forgot to include on this slide. So we met from 9:30 to 11:30, and we went through those steps. We had a little break for lunch, and then we came back from 1 to 2, where the girls went through the Ozobot lesson. So that's where they did the technology. However, these 3 steps are the kind of core of our program, and these are the 3 bits, and I'll talk about this again in a little bit, that we're going to take into the fall, which is exciting. Resources that we used, the 3 biggest resources that we used a program called Menti, which girls could answer questions and it would either respond in a poll format or a word cloud, similar to the one that you'll see here. We also utilize polls within Zoom itself, and those are ways that we were able to collect quantitative data from the girls of how they were feeling about different activities. Did they complete it? Were they still working on it? How were they feeling about summer camp? Was it fun? Was it hard? We were able to kind of get that more, that information from them. These are a little bit small images, so I wanted to pull up the Minty. This is kind of a bigger way that they would join. So this is a presenter's end, but there's a girl, the people that complete at end, and they're able to fill in the word cloud. And here you'll see fun popped up the most because that's the word the girls use the most. And so it's exciting to see how they fill it out and which ones are the more popular words that they use. Another one that we use is Padlet, which if you haven't used Padlet before, we loved Padlet. It's like an online bulletin board where the girls were able to post the activities that they did. Pictures, if you notice, a lot of them were sad that camp was over, which was exciting. It's exciting that they enjoyed it, not sad, exciting that they were sad. They have wonderful pictures of themselves with the activities, so we were able to kind of see a better view of what they were doing and how they were enjoying it. We had one of these set up for every single camp. It was a way that the girls could communicate with each other, which made it still feel a lot like a community, even if they weren't able to be in person. In the fall, we are planning to serve 2,000 plus girls over throughout the country, a lot in Texas, as well as Boston and the California Bay Area. We have after-school partners that we typically meet with in person, but schools are kind of ranging from in-person to virtual to a hybrid. And we have also just decided, for the safety of our staff and our program, that we are moving forward virtually. So we're taking a lot of those strategies and resources that we did from over the summer, and we're transitioning them into the fall. So strategies that we are transitioning, similar to summer camp, we are providing that same in-depth journal. We are going to have videos and a digital library and Zoom calls. That way we are able to access everybody regardless of their own accessibility to technology. We're setting up the same expectations. So those are all the expectations that we give them up front. We also, our first day of club or camp, we set up expectations with the girls, and we talk through what they want and what their goals are for camp and how they want to have the club run. We are still doing that same structure of Girl Start Your Day, so that we're setting intention. We have a hands-on activity for most of our club's days. We have a moment of recognition to, again, reflect back on how the camp day went. And we hope that all of these together still really build that sense of community that we typically have in our in-person after-school clubs. We are still planning on utilizing Minty and our Zoom polls, as well as Padlets. We had really great responses from those, both with the girls as well as how we collected the data. So those are really great resources for us. We have really worked hard to analyze the kind of top tested science and math TEKs, and we are aligned our lessons that we are doing so that we can make sure that we are supporting schools in reinforcing things that they are learning through hands-on activities. As I mentioned before, we have previously, and we're going to continue to provide Zoom backgrounds for for club members. That way, if they don't want to share their room or their home, they are able to have a background set up for them. We're also really excited that we're going to have guest speakers. So every call will have at least one guest speaker throughout this semester. As I mentioned, we connect all of our lessons to careers that are out there in the world. Through summer and continuing into the fall, we have also connected them to specific women in STEM in their journal. So if they're learning about, if their activity, which one of the summer camps was Gorilla Hands, then they learned about Jane Goodall and her work. as a biologist. And so they're able to connect to actual women, but then they're also going to have guest speakers that are in similar fields, and they're going to be able to hear from those guest speakers and really see what it is like to be a woman in STEM, which is exciting. Yeah. So those are kind of our big things. My next slide is questions. I feel like A, I talk a little bit fast. B, this was just a lot of information at once. And I really just want to help facilitate a conversation. If any of you have similar programs that you're looking to run, what questions do you have that I can give you from our experience advice on? If you have any thoughts, suggestions, things that have worked well for you, I would love to kind of continue this as a more discussion model.
Thank you, Shelby.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
Yay.
I remember, I'll just go ahead. I remember, you know, when I was younger, we did not have programs like this available. I didn't even know of any programs like that. I mean, I'm sure there was something, but definitely nothing that I heard about since becoming an adult. You know, I've been able to take part in programs like this, especially in Texas and definitely in Austin. And it's just so incredible that, you know, people like you and, you know, I'm sure other people here like really just are so influential and like have the time and the resources to put this together, because I know it's not easy. So thank you. It blows my mind. You're awesome.
Yay, we're so glad to hear that. We are so grateful that we have the ability to provide these programs for girls, both during typical times, and then that we have been able to adjust to a model to help meet girls, even if they're not meeting in person.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that slide about, you know, how you were facilitating that online. I mean, that's so thoughtful that I'm sure it's like, you know, how do we protect these little girls and their identities, you know, online. And so it's so smart. It's so intuitive. I'm so glad that, you know, smart people like you are putting it together and doing it.
Thank you. Is anybody else kind of working with after school or trying to figure out how to adapt programs that they typically meet in person and trying to figure out how they want to continue that in the fall?
Hi, Shelby. This
Hi.
is Gustavo Perez down here in South Texas,
Yes.
in McAllen area.
Thank you for joining.
And, excuse me. I had a question. So here regionally, some of our challenges for informal spaces has been just access to devices, to internet, just general bandwidth. A lot of students are sharing their spaces at home, and they don't have a dedicated space to do you know, virtual activities. And I was wondering what if you knew of your success here in South Texas. We do have a very active Girlstart ecosystem here in South Texas. I'm really happy about that. Yes. And I was just wondering what the success had been over the summer with your model, which is, by the way, I think it's amazing that you're able to provide actual kits. And I was wondering if that actually got down here to South Texas and how that played out.
Yes, we did have a camp that was the Rio Grande Valley. We did have one camp that went, and we shipped them their kits, and I know the girls that joined the Zoom call were really excited, and there were some girls, as I mentioned, that unfortunately weren't able to join the Zoom calls, and they did either follow the videos or they went through the journal on their own. We didn't collect data from them quite as much, but we did get a number of emails through parents, whether it was necessarily the Rio Grande Valley or just parents kind of all over the nation, that were really responsive and appreciative. And they told us that their girls really enjoyed our camps. And so I do believe if they were just going through the journal and they weren't able to join the Zoom call, they still really enjoyed and were successful with the program. So as I mentioned, kind of Padlet and Menti were two of the big resources that we've used. If anybody else has had similar programs that they ended up running virtually over the summer or plan to in the fall, are there any other resources that y'all suggest or have used in the past?
One of the ones that we used was called All Whiteboard. Okay. I think it's just spelled AWW Whiteboard. It's just an online whiteboard that students can log in. It's no password, just, you know, jot down some information. So like if you're designing something, you need that virtual space to kind of draw stuff and put your ideas out. The cool thing is it's shareable. So people can be drawing over here and I'll be drawing over here. And it's like our ideas kind of mesh. It's a really nice tool.
That sounds like a really good brainstorming tool. Thank you so much for sharing
Exactly.
that. I'm excited to share that with my team. I'm going to stop sharing so that we're all able to see each other a little bit better.
This is Trisha. I'm behind the ecosystem screen, so I'll leave that up. But I was going to share that we also used Padlet throughout our camp experience all summer, and we just left it open all summer and used it as a way for our high schoolers to pose questions. And we had some different columns set up for the different weeks that we were focused on different engineering majors. And so they could ask questions that were maybe general in nature in one column, but then they could get very specific within the different engineering disciplines and ask specific questions, as well as ask questions about the projects that we had them doing. And so it was nice to have that open all summer. And we would go in and color code things that we had answered so that they could quickly go see what had been responded to. And we just responded to them within their question box on Padlet. So it worked really surprisingly well, better than we thought it might work.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. So we definitely plan to use Padlet in the fall, but we have been debating whether we want to, in the fall, we meet once a week and for 10 weeks. And so we've been debating between weeks if we want to leave it open or just have it open during club time. Just again, kind of with safety and thinking about what can potentially happen over a week. But it's good to hear from you, Trisha, that you had a positive experience with it just open and that wasn't a big concern that ended up coming up.
It wasn't. And I mean, we're dealing with juniors and seniors in high school. So their questions are they're in a little bit different space, but it worked well because they were able to, and we got the feedback, they were able to go in, at their own leisure and read through the responses and to sort through the things that had been asked and answered. And we allowed them to upvote. So it had an upvoting capability where they could upvote the questions. So we encouraged them, instead of asking the same question again, just if you see a question in there that is of interest to you, click on that and give it a little upvote. So we knew which questions we really needed to make sure that we had a really thorough response to and that we needed to respond to a little quicker, and then which ones we maybe could wait a little bit or respond to maybe in with a little less time sensitive nature.
I love that. Thank you. Upvotes. Yeah.
Hey Shelby, what about resources for anyone that's interested in getting involved?
Getting involved in Girlstart?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So getting involved, if you know someone that maybe wants to be a guest speaker at Girlstart, or if you want to help kind of us set up, right now we're prepping the kits, and those are kind of our volunteer experiences that we have. My coworker Charlene is that runs both of those things. I can put her email address in the chat. Charlene is the person that helps with any volunteer opportunities that you might want to join. If you want to help volunteer at Girlstart, which we are appreciative, I put her email again in the chat, and she is the best person to reach out to for any ways to help getting involved.
Awesome.
Hey, I was wondering how did you get funding for all the supplies?
Great question. We did a huge campaign kind of over the summer. We get a lot of our funding through grants, as well as individual donations are kind of our two biggest. We also have some companies that do help fund us. I can't remember the word for that at the moment.
Okay.
But those are kind of our big funding. I know we definitely had to adjust a lot of our proposals to stay virtual and to provide kits. We were lucky enough to receive some in-kind donations for some of the materials, but other materials, we utilized funding that had been originally planned to travel to summer camps to be able to kind of buy more materials than we were anticipating. So it was a lot of redistributing, but also getting our donors who are already supportive of us even more excited and on board for what a virtual camp would look like. And we definitely sold that in our way when we did applications to grants.
And that helped pay for if you had to ship anything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it helped pay for both our materials as well as if we had to ship to a specific camper's house.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Heidi, great question. Are any of our programs or resources available in Spanish? Unfortunately, no. At the moment, all of our programs are in English. We have times where girls have registered, and we provide registration forms typically in both languages. That way, if parents are Spanish speaking only, they're able to read through that form. But our programs so far have only been led in English. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And I'll take advantage of the time too. I just learned that STEM Scout is for third graders and up. What about your programs, the younger ages?
Yeah, our programs are specifically for 4th and 5th graders. We really try to target those TEKs to kind of help make sure we're narrowing what the girls would be learning. So we really target 4th and 5th grade TEKs. And unfortunately, just with 3rd grades and kind of previous knowledge, that would be a little bit young for them. Some of our more community events that we do, which we have also adjusted to be virtual, and there's more information on our website about those tend to be a wider age range. One of the big community events is something called December, which Trisha just helped remind me about. So December is 31 days of hands-on STEM activities that are available on our website. And those are a wide age range, anywhere from, I believe the TEKs are K through 8, and it can be anywhere within there. So I think it's December.
Thank you.
.org has all of those. On our website as well, which is just girlstart.org. There's a lot of other resources. We used to do a hands-on Wednesday blog, and that archive is still all on our website with a bunch of hands-on activities that you can do at home. On December, every year we release a new calendar that has new activities, and we keep all of the old calendars up there. They are all, so for the past 6 years, I want to say, available for you. Yeah. So all of those are available. So those are activities that you are able to do at home, whether it is with your programs, in your schools, with your own kids. Here, let me share my screen over here. Share. So we have, this is last year's December, and it is a calendar. We include a materials list that goes week by week. So that is a list for what families would need to have in order to complete these activities. But all of these are clickable links. So if you click on mine's taking a moment. Here is the materials list as well as the activity. And if you click on the activity, it opens up to a PDF that is step-by-step instructions of how to complete this activity. So these TEKs are 3rd and 5th grade. But like I said, they range kind of depending on the lesson. And this is an activity where the girls are making their own soap, and it's cute and colorful. They have beads. And this, I say girls because that's our model, but could be done with anybody that wants to do hands-on STEM activities. On our social media as well, we were releasing activities throughout the summer. So on Instagram, we are Girlstart. On Facebook, it's just Girlstart, I believe. Both of those have links to other hands-on activities that you are able to do, which is exciting. I'm trying to think other programs that we might have that would be helpful to everyone. So on our website, let me share again. If you go to our website, so we have our programs, kind of talk about our programs a little bit more. If you go to Community STEM, right now we have a STEM extravaganza going on. So we have social media takeovers going and new activities being released. we are doing virtual stories, which is really exciting. The last one we posted about is in March, but those will start up again, I believe, in September. So we have community programs that you can talk about. The December is right here, STEM extravaganza. Also, if you go to this For Educators link, there's weekly activities. We have some free curriculum. Again, that December resource, as well as some other resources on here. So our website is a really great resource for if you are needing your own at-home STEM activities to do, this is a great place to be able to find those. Trisha asked a great question if we used any other ways for girls to kind of showcase their design challenges. We mostly used Padlet for them to show it off. During our Zoom calls, we would often maybe showcase a girl for her to talk about it. But we didn't necessarily do like a YouTube or a live or other ways. We were trying to kind of keep everything pretty secure. We definitely had moments, like I said, in our Zoom calls where it'd be like, can everyone show off their LED logo? And we maybe showcased a girl if she wanted to talk, or girls would share their different design ideas. At the end of our camps, on the Friday of our camps, and then at the end of our semester, we do have something that we call Showcase. And this is where each of the girls get to talk about their favorite activity and show it off. So that was a way that girls were able to show off their final design and maybe talk about their process through getting to that design. However, we would love feedback if anyone else has done any activities at home. Did y'all have other ways for your participants to be able to show off their design challenges, the way they thought through things besides Padlet? What other resources did y'all use?
Most of ours, the little summer youth program that we had, we just did it through the Zoom meeting. And it was set in that every day when we would start, that would be one of the first things we did, is that they would have their activity ideas to do in the afternoon after we finished with the program. They would do them in the afternoon or evening or in the morning before. And then first thing when we had our Zoom program, they would share whatever they wanted to share. And that became the regular thing. And they knew, it's like, okay, first thing we share. And I like that.
I like starting off the day as a way to kind of celebrate the hard work that they had been doing between activities. Yes.
One thing we did is just to kind of, sometimes, you know, when you're sharing a whole group, it just kind of slows down the process. If you got a lot of kids, it may take a while. So we really took advantage of our breakout rooms, making sure we had enough staff online so that when we put them out in a breakout room, some of the adults can lead the discussion. Sometimes kids can be a little shy, you know, nobody wants to go first. They don't want to show their camera, so you need that adult to kind of prompt. Hey, you know, hey, Judy, can you go next? Hey, Julie, can you know, Robert, I haven't heard from you. Who are you? Are you here? You know, you need a little bit of that just to kind of provide the guidance and just the support. You know, I mean, and again, that we can get through more presentations concurrently and not waiting for just one person to go next.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely. Those breakout rooms are super handy. If you have the staff, as I mentioned, what we felt comfortable with was that there was at least 2 adults per breakout room. Just so that there's one kind of monitoring the Zoom call as itself and one monitoring the chat, similar to how Sarah and Trisha are doing today, which is appreciative. So having 2 adults was what we felt the safest with. So kind of what you and your program decides. However, our calls over summer camp were 40 girls if it was all in one call. So like Gustavo was saying, that's a lot to go through. So definitely utilizing those breakout calls. So it was 20 girls per call helped manage it a little bit better, or 20 girls per room to kind of talk through activities. Definitely helped open up more space and time for girls to be able to talk through their ideas and have just a little bit more space to talk. If they wanted to show off their design, ask questions, it's a little less overwhelming if you are able to use those breakout rooms.
Another thing that we did that kind of seemed to work well was we did a shared Google slide deck. So we assigned one slide to each team and we'd give them a template. So slide 1 would be a template, and then we'd have, like, you know, slides 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just adopt the slide. So we'd have the template as a copy, and then so kids go in there in teams and change their name, put their own, their slogan, kind of personalize it, make them more like a team. We're the, the STEM girls or whatever, and then we use that little synergy to kind of, okay, so now you're a team. Now let me give you a design challenge as a team. Mm-hmm. And as the camp progressed, we made those challenges a little bit harder, a little bit harder, a little bit harder. But we didn't overwhelm them right away. We make them have that quick win, and so we celebrated. Hey, you were able to get a slide. Yes, so they felt a little bit of an accomplishment. And then we started to, okay, now let's beef up the rigor here. Now let's get you to really think about something else. So that helped really a lot, because we could monitor in one document who's doing what, when, and where. And if we needed to go in there and say, hey, team 4, what's going on? I don't see your slogan up, let me help you out. So it was a really good way to kind of monitor everybody as well, and showcase their work at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. I'm writing both down, the whiteboard and the shared slide deck. Those are really both great ways for them to have like representation of work that they might be writing down. That's versus like a model that they're creating. I love that as ways that they can show their work and kind of teamwork it even virtually. Thank you for sharing those.
2 different engineering challenges, and because this summer we decided to not do anything live. We were just pushing content out to all the campers and their families. So we took their submissions for their design challenges, their videos that they did to explain or show off what they did, and to show off their failures. We asked them to do 2 videos, one that shows all their failures or some of their failures, and then one that shows hopefully a success. And then we put those together and put them on YouTube and included those in our newsletters. So if we were able to group them by theme, for example, the first challenge was they had to do a Rube Goldberg that passed something 6 feet away. So in true COVID-19 themed engineering design challenge, we had some that passed toilet paper, we had some that passed masks, we had some that passed water bottles, we had some that passed food to pets. And we tried to combine those and put those videos together in little showcase compilations. And then in some cases showed maybe one student work if they explained it really well, and then just push that out in probably numerous newsletters, because we would get too many videos in one newsletter, and just spread it out over several days. So that seemed to work well, and they enjoyed looking at those different videos and seeing others that maybe were grouped with a similar object that they were passing, but all the different ways that it was approached by the different participants.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. Awesome.
I'm wondering, did you find that a lot of your campers did not have access to Zoom availability, any internet access, or was it about half and half? Or
that's a great question. So for summer camp, as I'm sure you kind of noticed by our numbers, is slightly smaller scale, or quite a bit smaller scale than our after school. So we were able to ask the question of, did they have technology? Did they need it provided? Did they have internet at home? And we also, we were wondering, is it going to be the majority? Is it going to be about half? Like, how are we going to solve this? And between districts providing them with resources that they were able to keep over the summer, or their own technology they had at home, the vast majority of our campers did have their own technology that they were able to use. And we do primarily serve Title I areas for both summer camp and after school. So just so you kind of know our demographics.
That's good to know.
Yeah, I would say I'm not the best at percentages, but like it was maybe a handful total that we really ended up having to kind of look about alternative ways of providing them technology to be able to join the Zoom calls if we wanted to.
Because we're trying to convert everything I normally do on site to virtual, but I'm just like, will it get to everyone, especially if everyone is still at home?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that was something that we did learn, and we were grateful that our girls did have that technology, that they were able to join.
Good.
I think from communicating with our partner districts and kind of hearing what districts in the areas are doing, I do think a lot of them, because many districts are looking at trying to be virtual, at least for a significant chunk of the beginning of the semester, they are working to make sure that every student has technology that they can use at home so that they are able to do virtual camps. That's the experience I'm learning so far. If anyone has any different information, please feel free to share. But that's kind of what we've learned so far.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm really curious to know if you've seen any major changes in participation from virtual to in-person activities. You know, I guess I think about it like this. You know, I feel like especially younger, sometimes they, you know, especially are kind of really more dug into being introverts or extroverts, or the class clown even maybe. So I'm just curious how that plays out now that we're kind of all virtual, what that looks like. Has it changed? You know, are people maybe digging a little deeper into those norms that they would normally follow in class?
I think you do still see the spectrum. We definitely still had the class clowns that would post a little bit more on Padlet or kind of spam the chat a little bit differently. We had girls more willing to talk than others. I would say that things are slightly skewing a little bit more introverted, where they're just kind of a little more shy at first. They maybe don't want to have their screen, they have their video turned off for a little bit. They just kind of need warming up to the experience. It's all new and different. But overall, I would say it's a similar gambit, but maybe skewing just a little bit more to where they're just a little bit more introverted and need, like Gustavo was saying, like some more probing questions to pull them out of their shell, which is definitely something that we tried to build in and train with our staff.
I know that one thing that we noticed in South Texas, one thing that we noticed was just in terms of recruitment, we had to have a little bit more attention on the outlets. So normally when you do a face-to-face, you know, kids show up. You know, we don't usually have a problem with recruitment, but because it's online, we did notice that we had to have flyers that were pretty, send them out to the parents, you know, even engage in direct calls in our area, because, you know, a lot of times, you know, because we have Spanish-speaking community, I got to get on the phone. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Estamos en un campamento. You know, I got to say it in Spanish and make them feel comfortable that it's not a, you know, a scam or anything, right? And just have multiple outlets. Another thing is we use a lot of social media, right? You know, get on our Instagram, get on our, you know, Twitter feed and shoot it out to get as much people involved so the word gets out. And, you know, you're going to miss out, right? If you don't show up, you're going to miss out, right? So that helped a lot, kind of a multi-level approach to recruitment. We actually got about a 30%, 50% attendance rate versus face-to-face. So it's a lot less than you would in a face-to-face. So plan to have a recruitment plan of giving yourself a good month before an event to really target those groups that you want to bring into account.
Yeah. Depending on the region that we were in, we were able to utilize a lot of our after-school participants to join our camps. So our camp that maybe was specific to, it was supposed to be kind of the Houston region. Since we're virtual, if we were struggling a little bit with recruitment in Houston, we were able to reach out to maybe Austin area schools that hadn't been previously invited to camps. So we did often kind of pull from different groups than maybe we would if it was an in-person camp to help us with our numbers and keep up with that registration. So virtual was a plus to virtual, was we were kind of had different pools that we could reach from, and where you were didn't necessarily affect which call you might join or camp you might be a part of. We also definitely had a better response if we used like a MailChimp email, which is prettier and has some more designs than if it was just like a cold normal email. I would agree that prettier kind of pulls and makes it look a little bit more official. We definitely reached out to parents using Google Voice numbers, whether it was calling or texting, and kind of what worked best. So those are resources that we did to get the registration. Once the girls were registered, I would say we had about a like 70 to 75% rate of them actually joining the calls. So our camps typically were about 40 girls that were invited to join a camp. But we'd end up having, depending on the camp, anywhere from like 27 to like 35 girls that would join the camp. So it really kind of varied. But I would say on average, it was probably about a 70 to 75% show up rate.
In our case, because we struggled with just attendance, we went ahead and programmed multiple opportunities. So, this is the first round. A month from now, we're going to do another round. So everybody that we didn't capture the first round, we had a second opportunity to kind of bring them in as well.
Marty asked, what are the particular concerns of parents you've had that have shared about the virtual experience? Concerns that parents had were about materials was kind of the first concerns that we heard about parents when we sent out the opportunity. Was our camps, for the most part, we have a few camps that cost, but the vast majority of our camps, because we are serving Title I areas, were free to those participants. So that was a concern that we had, but once we reassured them that the camp was free, we provide all the materials, they were very excited. We definitely had some parents that were like, we do have technology, however, just based on timing, I don't know if they're going to be able to join the Zoom call. And that is why we had the journal that was comprehensive, where they could just read through the journal, or we had the digital library. That way, girls don't have to join the Zoom call. It's definitely the preferable way, but we had these other options where if they wanted to participate and get these activities, they were able to do it on their own time. So I would say those were the two biggest concerns we have. We don't record any of our calls, so there was no concern about sharing a recording with their daughter. We do ask about media releases for when we take pictures, and that's something we really train our staff to be cognizant of if they're going to be taking a Brady Bunch picture of the Zoom call, to blur out the face of the girl that is not able to have her media release. They go through every day after camp, and we'll continue that with club to look through the Padlet, and families are told this beforehand. If they say no to media release, then we will be removing any of their content from the Padlet. That way, when we do turn it off and we share it to families, their stuff is not on there. So we're really cognizant of both of those platforms to make sure that if they do not consent to a media release, that their information is safe in a safe space. And that stuff, like I said, we communicate with them beforehand, and we kind of remind them throughout the experience. But I would say those are the three biggest concerns and how we handle those.
Hi, Shelby.
Yes.
Yeah, reading the session, it says here, we will learn engagement tips and tools we use with the summer camp at home, and also we will learn instructional strategies that we can implement. Where are we in the talk right now? I just want to know, where are we? We're following. I want to follow your thoughts after listening to the questions. I got lost where we are.
Totally fine. I went through my presentation fairly quickly, where I kind of talked about the instructional ways that we went through summer camp, and then I opened it up to more questions. I went through my presentation a little quicker than I anticipated. I apologize for that. And it's just kind of been facilitating a discussion since then.
Okay, so we're in the only questions mode right now.
Yeah. Yes. Trisha just shared out, we're going to share the presentation. I do need to email that to Trisha. I will do that right after this call so that she's able to share that out with everybody. Kind of like I mentioned, some of our big instructional strategies were having those different accessibility approaches. We trained our staff to go through the lessons. They talk through step-by-step how to do it. They will show their steps as they're doing it. We had some that would like angle their computer down so that they could show their hands doing the activities for the girls to go through and watch. The journal had ways for girls to brainstorm and problem solve, and together they went through the hands-on lesson. Those were kind of the big instructional ways that we went through the Zoom calls, but the big strategies I really wanted to talk about was just the 3 different tier of accessibility that we went through. Heidi, if you have any other specific questions about how we approached instruction or things that I mentioned that we would go through the chat, I'd be happy to help answer any of those questions.
No, thank you. Just wanted to follow where you are, at what point of your presentation. I can take advantage of the opportunity right now. I am, part of my job is doing story times for children, and virtually, and I'm seeing that many, the families step in with different ages from 0 to 5, but many times we have older children. So I want to take advantage of sharing with them about this great resource. What do you think will be great to say to them? I'm meeting with them weekly, with different families. We're working with the consulate, Mexican consulate as well, Campfire and other organizations. I want them to engage with your programs. What will be, how can we sell? I want to sell the idea of your camps and programs. Really, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful resource.
Thank you. So you can sell them by saying our programs are all about getting, we are mostly designed around girls, but all families excited about hands-on STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math. Our website has a lot of resources, as I mentioned, that they're able to do right now. Those weekly activities. December is one of our biggest resources of things that they can go through to do as a family. Throughout the fall, we're going to be releasing even more programs. As I mentioned, we have some virtual community events, which are for all ages, whether it is Starry events that I mentioned, which is the first Thursday of every month. We have STEM extravaganza currently going. We will definitely have a big thing in December for December. So there's a lot of activities that will be happening that the whole family can participate in. We have some new ones that we are still working on and that we're going to be releasing on our website and social media. So I recommend following us on Instagram at iHeartGirlstart or liking us on Facebook at Girlstart, and you'll be getting all of the newest activities that way. With STEM extravaganza this week, we're currently doing STEM takeovers. So today, one of our college interns, Brittany, took over, and she is talking through building a kite. And we have linked the kite activity. She displays her success with it and talks through the STEM connection and the career that can go with it. And that's going to be going on all week. And we have similar things that will be popping up throughout this semester, which is exciting.
You said something is, they need to pay for it, or is free?
No, all of our resources will be free. The only very small thing that we have that is currently paid content are one sect of our summer camps, but those have already passed. So that won't need to worry about until the fall or until next summer. But the majority of our summer camps are free. There are a few fundraising opportunities that are going to happen throughout the summer. That will be some things that will happen. And so that, depending on kind of how the fundraising is to help us earn money to help build new programs for the future. So those might have some cost to them, but I would say that all of our community events are free and open to the public.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining. If anyone has any other questions, we still have 5 more minutes. I just want to say thank you all for joining. I'm sorry the presentation was just a little bit short, but I really enjoyed this discussion and hearing from y'all of how y'all's programs have worked and what questions you've had. I really appreciated this time to get to know y'all and y'all's experiences.